The crystal spires of the Valdris capital city gleamed under twin suns as Queen Zara stood at the massive viewing window of her palace throne room. Her violet skin shimmered with the natural bioluminescence that marked her royal bloodline, and her large silver eyes reflected centuries of wisdom and power. Today would change everything for her empire, and she knew it. "Your Majesty," came a voice behind her. General Kex, her most trusted military advisor, approached with measured steps. His 4 arms carried multiple data tablets, each one displaying troubling reports from the border systems. "The human delegation has arrived." Zara turned from the window, her flowing robes catching the light. The Valdris Empire had ruled this sector of the galaxy for over 3,000 years, but now they faced their greatest threat ever. The Korthak swarm was expanding rapidly, consuming entire star systems with their endless hunger for resources and territory. No single empire could stand against them alone. And the human representative? Zara asked, though she already knew the answer. The marriage proposal had been discussed for months through diplomatic channels. Ben Torres, as agreed upon. The Earth Council has confirmed he has full authority to finalize the alliance treaty. General Kex paused, his expression showing doubt. "Your Majesty, are you certain about this arrangement? Humans are still such a young species. They have barely left their home system." Zara had asked herself the same question many times. The Valdris possessed advanced psychic abilities that humans completely lacked. They could communicate across vast distances through thought alone, see glimpses of possible futures, and influence matter at the molecular level. Humans seemed primitive in comparison, relying entirely on crude technology and physical tools. But humans had something else. In just 200 years, they had advanced from basic space flight to building massive fleets. Their rate of innovation was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. More importantly, they were the only species that had successfully defended against a Korthak scouting force through pure tactical creativity. "The humans have proven their worth in battle," Zara said finally. "And this marriage will ensure their complete commitment to our alliance." Personal bonds between rulers have always been the strongest form of treaty. The throne room doors opened with a soft hiss, and the human delegation entered. Zara had seen Ben Torres during their video conferences, but meeting him in person was different. He was tall for a human, with brown hair and calm blue eyes that seemed to take in every detail of the room without obvious scanning. He wore simple dark clothing rather than the elaborate ceremonial garments most species preferred for such occasions. "Your Majesty," Ben said, offering a respectful bow that perfectly matched Valdris custom. His accent carried the crisp tones of Earth's diplomatic corps. "I am honored by your hospitality and the trust you place in this alliance." Zara studied him carefully. During their negotiations, Ben had demonstrated remarkable intelligence and cultural sensitivity. He had learned basic Valdris language within weeks and showed deep understanding of their social structures. But there was something else about him, something she could not quite identify. Her psychic abilities, which usually gave her insight into the thoughts and intentions of others, seemed to slide off him like water off stone. "The honor is mutual, Ben Torres," Zara replied, using his full name as human custom required. "Your people's courage against the Korthak has earned great respect throughout our empire." The next several hours were filled with formal ceremonies and diplomatic protocols. Ben moved through each ritual with surprising grace, never hesitating or asking for clarification. When the Valdris priestess began the traditional blessing ceremony, he joined in the ancient chants despite having learned them only weeks before. During a brief private moment, Zara's younger sister Vera approached her. Vera possessed even stronger psychic abilities than Zara and often served as an advisor on matters requiring deep intuition. "Sister," Vera said quietly, her thoughts touching Zara's mind directly. "There is something unusual about this human. I cannot read his intentions clearly. It is as if his mind is shielded somehow." Zara had noticed the same thing. Most species had some natural psychic presence, even if they could not actively use telepathic abilities. Humans were supposed to be completely without such gifts, but Ben felt different. Not empty, but rather like looking at a calm lake's surface that revealed nothing of the depths beneath. Perhaps it is simply how human minds work, Zara replied through their mental link. We know so little about their psychology. As the day progressed, Ben proved to be excellent company. He asked thoughtful questions about Valdres history and culture, sharing stories about Earth that fascinated the assembled nobles. He described human cities with millions of inhabitants, vast oceans covering most of their planet, and the rapid development of their spacefaring civilization. Your people achieved faster-than-light travel remarkably quickly, noted Minister Davix, the Empire's chief scientist. Most species require thousands of years to develop such technology. Ben smiled, and Zara noticed it did not quite reach his eyes. Humans have always been good at learning from necessity. When we discovered we were not alone in the universe, we knew we needed to adapt quickly or risk being left behind. The formal marriage ceremony began as the twin suns set, bathing the palace in golden light. Following Valdres tradition, Zara and Ben stood together before the assembled nobles and spoke their vows of alliance. The words were ancient, pledging not just personal commitment but the joining of their peoples in mutual defense and cooperation. When Ben spoke his vows in fluent Valdres, his pronunciation was perfect. Zara found herself genuinely impressed by his dedication to learning her language. As they exchanged the traditional crystal rings that would glow with soft light as long as both wearers lived, she felt a moment of unexpected warmth toward this unusual human. The celebration feast continued late into the night. Ben adapted easily to Valdres' social customs, engaging in the complex conversations that wove together personal relationships, political analysis, and philosophical discussion. He seemed particularly interested when General Kex described recent Korthak attack patterns. Their tactics are highly coordinated, the general explained. Each ship in their fleets responds instantly to changes in battle conditions. They appear to share a collective consciousness that makes them extremely difficult to surprise or outmaneuver. Like a hive mind, Ben said thoughtfully. We have insects on Earth that operate similarly, though on a much smaller scale. Individual ants or bees sacrifice themselves without hesitation for the good of the colony. Exactly. But the Korthak do this with starship fleets containing millions of individuals. No other species has found an effective counter to their coordination. Zara watched Ben's expression carefully during this conversation. Again, she sensed something beneath the surface, as if the human was filing away every detail for some purpose she could not identify. Later, as the guests departed and the palace grew quiet, Zara showed Ben to his new quarters. The rooms had been prepared to accommodate human needs, with furniture scaled to his size and environmental controls adjusted to Earth normal conditions. I hope you will be comfortable here, Zara said. I know this is a great change from your home world. Ben looked around the elegant chambers with their flowing lines and crystalline decorations. It is beautiful. Your people have great artistic skill. He paused at the large window that showed the sprawling city below. I do appreciate one thing, though. Would it be possible to have access to a private communication terminal? I would like to stay in contact with my family on Earth. Of course, Zara agreed. I understand the importance of maintaining connections to home. She arranged for a secured communication link to be installed, thinking it natural that Ben would want to speak with relatives and friends during this adjustment period. Over the following weeks, Ben integrated smoothly into palace life. He attended council meetings as Zara's consort, offering occasional insights into human perspectives on various issues. He spent time in the palace libraries, reading extensively about Valdres history and culture. He also took long walks through the city, observing daily life and speaking with ordinary citizens who were curious about the human who had married their queen. But Zara began to notice certain patterns. Ben spent at least an hour each day in private meditation, something he claimed was a human relaxation technique. He used the communication terminal regularly, always in private and always with what he said were family members on Earth. The conversations appeared to be encrypted at a level beyond normal civilian communication. When Zara mentioned this to Vera, her sister's expression grew thoughtful. I have tried several times to sense his emotional state during these communications, Vera admitted. But I get nothing clear. Either he has remarkable emotional control, or there is more to these conversations than simple family contact. You think he might be reporting to Earth's government? Zara asked. Possibly. But that would be natural for someone in his position. What concerns me more is the feeling I get when I try to read his thoughts during his meditation periods. It is like touching the surface of something vast and hidden. Zara decided not to worry about it. Ben had proven to be an ideal partner in every other way. He was intelligent, respectful, and genuinely seemed to care about the welfare of her people. If he had additional duties to his own government, that was understandable. The first real sign of trouble came 3 weeks after the wedding. General Kex arrived at the morning council meeting with his expression grim and his 4 arms full of urgent dispatches. Your Majesty, he announced, we have received reports from the border systems. The Korthak have begun large-scale fleet movements. Our intelligence sources believe they are preparing for a major offensive. A chill ran through the room. Everyone knew this day would come, but the timing was concerning. The alliance with Earth was still new and untested. Ben leaned forward in his seat beside the throne. What kind of numbers are we looking at? Preliminary estimates suggest at least 10,000 ships in the initial wave, with more following. Their target appears to be the Nexura system. If they take that, they will have a direct route to 3 of our major populated worlds. Zara felt the weight of leadership settle on her shoulders. This would be the first real test of the human alliance. General, what is the status of our combined fleet preparations? The Valdris fleet can deploy 5,000 ships within 2 days. The Earth vessels are still in transit. Their admiral estimated another week before their forces arrive at the staging area. Ben stood up suddenly, his calm demeanor shifting into something more focused and intense. General, with your permission, I need to update Earth Command on this development immediately. The timeline has moved up significantly. Of course, Zara agreed. Any support your people can provide will be crucial. As Ben left the council chamber, Zara noticed his walk had changed. Gone was the relaxed gait of a diplomat. Now he moved with the precise stride of someone with urgent military business. For the first time since their marriage, Zara began to wonder if she truly knew the human she had wed. The emergency sirens began wailing across the Valdris capital 3 days later. Queen Zara rushed to the command center, her robes flowing behind her as she moved through corridors filled with urgent activity. Military personnel ran past carrying data tablets and weapon systems, their faces tight with concentration. Ben was already in the command center when she arrived, standing beside General Kex at the main tactical display. The huge holographic screen showed the Nexura system, where red dots representing Korthak ships were spreading like a disease across the star map. Report, Zara commanded as she took her position at the center console. General Kex's 4 arms moved rapidly across multiple control panels. The Korthak fleet has entered Nexura space in force. Initial count shows 12,000 ships, more than our estimates. They are moving in perfect formation toward the inhabited planets. Zara studied the display with growing alarm. The Korthak ships moved like a single organism, each vessel perfectly coordinated with all the others. No wasted motion, no confusion, no hesitation. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. What about our defenses? She asked. Admiral Toth has positioned our fleet at the edge of the system. 4,000 ships ready for engagement. But Your Majesty, the numbers are not in our favor. Ben stepped forward, his expression serious. General, has there been any word from the Earth fleet? Admiral Santos reports her ships are still 2 days out at maximum speed. She is pushing the engines beyond safe limits, but the distance is too great. Zara watched Ben's face carefully. She could see him calculating something behind those calm blue eyes. Whatever he was thinking, it was complex and urgent. I need to speak with Earth Command immediately, Ben said. There may be other options available. As Ben left for his private communication room, Zara turned her attention back to the tactical display. The Korthak advance was methodical and unstoppable. Every few minutes, more ships appeared at the edge of the system, reinforcing the already massive fleet. "Sister," came Vera's voice in her mind. Her psychic abilities allowed her to monitor the battle from across the city. "I can sense the fear of our people in Nexera. The Korthak are not just attacking military targets. They are moving toward the civilian populations." This was the Korthak way. They did not seek to rule or negotiate. They simply consumed everything in their path, taking resources and converting entire populations into more soldiers for their hive mind. Once a world fell to the swarm, it was lost forever. The battle began an hour later. Admiral Toth led the Valdris fleet in a carefully planned assault, using their advanced psychic coordination to execute complex maneuvers that would have been impossible for most species. Valdris ships moved in perfect harmony, anticipating each other's actions and creating devastating combined attacks. For a brief moment, it seemed like the strategy might work. The first wave of Korthak ships took heavy damage, and several were destroyed completely. The Valdris cheered as their weapons tore through enemy formations. But then the Korthak adapted. Within minutes, their entire fleet had adjusted to counter the Valdris tactics. Ships that had been vulnerable to psychic disruption suddenly showed resistance. Formations that had worked perfectly against other enemies proved useless as the Korthak instantly developed countermeasures. "How are they doing this?" General Kex muttered, watching his carefully planned strategies crumble in real time. "The hive mind," Zara replied grimly. "Every ship shares knowledge instantly. When one learns something, they all learn it." The tide of battle shifted rapidly. Valdris ships found themselves outmaneuvered by an enemy that seemed to predict their every move. The Korthak formation flowed like water, adapting to each new strategy before it could take effect. Admiral Toth's voice crackled over the communication system. "Command, we are taking heavy losses. The enemy has countered every tactical approach. Requesting new orders." Zara felt the weight of command crushing down on her. Thousands of her people were dying in space, and millions more on the planets below would follow if the fleet failed. She had spent years preparing for this moment, but nothing had prepared her for the reality of watching her forces be systematically defeated. Ben returned to the command center as the battle reached its most desperate point. His expression had changed completely. Gone was any trace of the diplomatic calm she had grown accustomed to. Now he looked like someone who had just received orders for war. "Zara," he said, using her name instead of her title for the first time in public. "I need you to trust me completely. Earth has resources we have not discussed before." "What kind of resources?" she asked, though part of her was afraid to know the answer. Ben stepped to the main communications console. "General Kex, please open a channel to Admiral Toth. Priority emergency." When the connection was established, Ben's voice carried an authority that Zara had never heard before. "Admiral, this is Ben Torres. Earth Command Authorization Omega-77 Alpha. You are to withdraw all forces to defensive position Delta and await further instructions." Admiral Toth's image flickered on the screen, showing a battle-worn face streaked with sweat. "Sir, I was not aware of your command authority. Confirming withdrawal to position Delta." Zara stared at Ben in shock. "Command authority? What exactly are you not telling me?" Before Ben could answer, the tactical display showed the Valdris fleet pulling back to a safer distance. The Korthak continued their advance toward the inhabited planets, apparently content to let the retreat continue rather than pursue and finish the battle. "Zara, I need to make contact with a specific unit of the Earth fleet," Ben said urgently. "What I am about to tell you must remain classified at the highest levels." "Speak plainly," she commanded, using her royal authority. Ben activated the communication system with a complex sequence of codes. "This is Commander Ben Torres, Earth Defense Corps Special Operations Division. Authorization Code Chaos Prime 7. requesting immediate contact with Task Force Mayhem. The reply came within seconds, but the voice was unlike any Earth communication Zara had heard before. Instead of crisp military protocol, the speaker sounded almost casual. Chaos Prime 7 confirmed. This is Captain Lee, Task Force Mayhem. We have been monitoring the situation. Ready to implement Protocol Insanity on your mark. Zara's mind raced as the implications hit her. Commander. You are military, not a diplomat. I am both, Ben replied, his attention focused on the communication system. Earth's first contact with the Valdris was through diplomatic channels, but we knew this day would come. The Korthak represent an existential threat to all spacefaring civilizations. We have been preparing for this war. On the tactical display, the Korthak fleet had reached the outer planets of the Nexera system. Landing ships were already deploying toward the surface, beginning the process of conquest and conversion that had destroyed so many other worlds. Captain Lee, Ben continued, the enemy has deployed standard hive mind tactics. 12,000 ships in coordinated formations. They have already adapted to conventional Valdris psychic warfare. Understood, Commander. Hive minds always give us the best results. Task Force Mayhem is 15 minutes out from the combat zone. We have 1,800 ships ready for full chaos deployment. 1,800 ships against 12,000 seemed like madness, but something in Ben's expression suggested he knew exactly what he was doing. General Keck stepped forward, his four arms spread in a gesture of confusion. Commander Torres, with respect, 1,800 ships cannot defeat a Korthak force of this size. The mathematics are impossible. Ben turned to face the assembled Valdris officers, and Zara saw a different person entirely. This was not the thoughtful diplomat who had married her 3 weeks ago. This was a military commander who had spent years planning for exactly this moment. General, the mathematics assume conventional warfare. What we are about to deploy is something the Korthak have never encountered before. Ben activated another communication channel. Admiral Santos, this is Commander Torres. Execute Chaos Protocol Authorization Level Alpha. All conventional units are to maintain defensive positions and observe. Admiral Santos's voice carried a note of excitement. Chaos Protocol Alpha confirmed. Task Force Mayhem has operational control of the engagement zone. All standard units moving to observation positions. Zara watched the display as new signals appeared at the edge of the system. The Earth ships were arriving, but not in the organized formations she expected. Instead, they scattered across space in what looked like complete disorder. Ben, what exactly is Task Force Mayhem? She asked. He was already making another call, this one to someone called Control 7. This is a specialized unit we developed specifically for fighting hive mind enemies. Every ship operates independently, with no central command structure and no predictable tactics. The concept made no sense to Zara. Military forces required coordination and planning to be effective. Random attacks would just be destroyed piecemeal by the superior Korthak numbers. But as she watched the tactical display, something strange began to happen. The scattered Earth ships were not attacking randomly. They were attacking chaotically, which was somehow completely different. One ship approached the Korthak fleet while broadcasting what appeared to be human music at maximum volume. Another ship began executing a series of maneuvers that spelled out mathematical equations in space. A third ship fired its weapons in patterns that matched no known tactical doctrine. The Korthak response was immediate and wrong. Their hive mind tried to process the human tactics and develop countermeasures, but there were no tactics to counter. Each human ship was doing something completely different, something that made no logical sense. The chaos is not random, Ben explained, watching the battle unfold. Each captain has specific instructions to be unpredictable in a different way. Some base their tactics on historical Earth battles. Others use music or art as inspiration. A few are literally making decisions by rolling dice. The Korthak fleet, which had moved with perfect coordination against the Valdris, began to show signs of confusion. Ships started responding differently to the same stimuli. The hive mind was trying to process dozens of completely unrelated tactical approaches simultaneously. "It is working," General Keck said in amazement. "Their formation is breaking apart." Zara stared at the display in fascination. The mighty Korthak swarm, which had conquered dozens of star systems, was being disrupted by what looked like complete military chaos. Human ships darted between enemy formations like insects, each one doing something completely unexpected. But as she watched her husband coordinate this impossible battle, Zara realized she still had no idea who Ben Torres really was or what other secrets Earth was hiding. The man she had married was not a diplomat at all. He was something far more dangerous and far more valuable than she had ever imagined. The real revelation was still to come. The battle in Nexera space had become something no military strategist in galactic history could have predicted. Queen Zara watched from the command center as the tactical display showed what appeared to be complete madness unfolding among the stars. Human ships moved through the Korthak formations like dancers following 1,800 different songs. One vessel flew in perfect spirals while firing weapons that painted colorful patterns against enemy hulls. Another ship had begun transmitting what Ben identified as human poetry, using the rhythm of the verses to time its attack runs. "Captain Rodriguez to all Mayhem units," came a voice over the communications array. "I am now basing all tactical decisions on my grandmother's cookie recipes. Chocolate chip formation, execute." General Keck stared at the display with 4 arms frozen in bewilderment. "Commander Torres, this cannot possibly be working. Military science requires order and coordination." Ben stood at the central command console, and Zara could see he was conducting this chaotic symphony with the skill of a master. "General, military science works against logical opponents. The Korthak hive mind is the most logical enemy in the galaxy. Every decision is calculated for maximum efficiency." On the display, the Korthak fleet was beginning to show serious signs of disruption. Ships that should have been moving in perfect harmony were instead hesitating, turning in different directions, even firing on their own formations as the hive mind struggled to process the incomprehensible human tactics. "Captain Singh reporting," came another voice. "I have decided to base my attack pattern on the mating dance of Earth butterflies. The enemy seems very confused by this approach." Zara turned to Ben with growing amazement. "How long have you been planning this?" 3 years, Ben replied, never taking his eyes off the battle coordination. Earth's first contact with reports about the Korthak came through traders who had witnessed their attacks. "We immediately began developing countermeasures." "But why the deception? Why not tell us about your military capabilities?" Ben finally looked at her, and his expression carried both determination and something that might have been regret. "Because what we discovered scared even us. Humans have a capacity for organized chaos that other species find disturbing. We needed to understand your people before revealing the full extent of our abilities." The tactical display showed a new development. The largest Korthak command ship, a massive vessel at the center of their formation, had begun to glow with an ominous red light. Emergency signals flashed across the screen. "Commander," called Admiral Toth from her position with the Valdris fleet. "The enemy flagship is charging some kind of weapon system. Energy readings are off the scale." Ben's expression hardened. "They are preparing to use their final option. When hive minds cannot adapt, they sometimes choose total destruction rather than defeat." "What kind of destruction?" Zara asked, though she feared the answer. "Planetary sterilization beam. If they cannot conquer Nexera, they will destroy it completely to deny it to us." The command ship's red glow intensified, and sensors showed it gathering enough energy to scorch the life from entire continents. The weapon would fire within minutes. Ben activated his personal communicator with a code sequence Zara had never seen before. "Task Force Mayhem, this is Chaos Prime. The enemy is preparing Doomsday Protocol. Requesting volunteer for Terminal Insanity Maneuver." The response was immediate, and it came from multiple sources simultaneously. Chaos Prime, this is Captain Park. I volunteer. This is Captain Williams, requesting terminal insanity assignment. Captain Foster here, ready for the big finale. Ben's voice carried a note of profound respect. Captain Park, you have authorization for terminal insanity. All other units provide maximum chaos support. Zara watched as a single human ship broke away from the chaotic battle and began accelerating directly toward the massive Korthak command vessel. Ben, what is terminal insanity? Something we hoped we would never have to use, he replied quietly. Captain Park is about to sacrifice her ship to deliver a payload that will overload the hive mind permanently. The lone human ship dodged through waves of defensive fire as it approached the command vessel. But this was not the calculated evasion of a skilled pilot following tactical doctrine. Captain Park's ship moved like it was dancing, spinning and weaving through the enemy barrage in patterns that seemed to follow the beat of music only she could hear. All mayhem units, this is Park, came the captain's voice, steady despite the desperate situation. I am now flying based on my 5-year-old daughter's drawing of how spaceships should move. It involves a lot of loop-de-loops. The Korthak defensive systems, designed to track logical flight patterns, could not target the ship effectively. Captain Park's vessel spun and twisted through the deadly fire like a leaf in a storm, following the innocent imagination of a child rather than any military manual. Zara, Ben said suddenly, I need you to understand something. What Captain Park is carrying is not a conventional weapon. It is a chaos virus designed specifically for hive minds. A virus? Information that cannot be processed logically. When it enters the Korthak network, every ship in their fleet will be exposed to pure human creativity. Random thoughts, emotions, contradictions, and paradoxes that will break their collective consciousness. On the screen, Captain Park's ship reached the command vessel and disappeared in a blinding flash of light. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. The massive Korthak ship continued charging its planet-killing weapon. Then the chaos began. Starting with the command vessel and spreading rapidly through the fleet, Korthak ships began behaving erratically. Some started spinning in place. Others fired their weapons at random targets or at nothing at all. A few began flying in perfect circles as if chasing their own tails. The virus is spreading through their hive mind network, Ben explained as they watched the enemy fleet dissolve into madness. Every ship is now experiencing human thoughts and emotions simultaneously. Joy, confusion, creativity, fear, hope, and wonder all mixed together in ways their logical minds cannot handle. The planetary sterilization beam flickered and died as the command ship lost all coordination. Across the battle zone, Korthak vessels continued their bizarre behaviors. Some had begun flying in formations that spelled out words and languages they had never encountered. Others appeared to be attempting to create artistic patterns with their movement. General Keck stared at the display in absolute amazement. They are not destroying themselves. They are just behaving completely irrationally. Exactly, Ben said. The chaos virus does not hurt them physically. It simply makes them think like humans. For a hive mind, individual creativity is more disruptive than any weapon. Queen Zara watched as the mighty Korthak swarm, the terror of the galaxy, reduced itself to a collection of confused individual ships trying to express emotions they had never felt before. It was the most beautiful and terrifying thing she had ever seen. Admiral Toth, Ben called to the Valdris fleet commander. Move in to secure the area, but do not fire on the Korthak ships unless directly threatened. They are no longer operating as an organized force. Confirmed, Commander. Moving to secure positions. As the immediate crisis passed, Zara found herself looking at her husband with completely new eyes. Ben Torres, or should I say Commander Torres, who exactly are you? Ben finally allowed himself to smile, though exhaustion was clear on his face. I am Ben Torres, Xenocultural Specialist and Diplomatic Attaché. I am also Commander Torres, leader of Earth's Chaos Division. And I am your husband, if you will still have me after learning the truth. Zara considered this carefully. The man she had married was indeed a diplomat, but he was also a military commander who had just saved her empire using tactics that defied all logic. He had hidden his true capabilities not from deception but from necessity. The meditation sessions, she said suddenly. You were not just relaxing. You were maintaining contact with your military units. Coordination training, Ben confirmed. Leading a chaos force requires a different kind of mental discipline. Every day I had to practice thinking in completely random patterns while still maintaining overall strategic awareness. And the encrypted communications? Reports to Earth Command and coordination with Task Force Mayhem. We had to be ready to implement Protocol Chaos at any moment. Vera's voice touched Zara's mind from across the city. Sister, I understand now why I could not read his thoughts clearly. His mind was constantly shifting between diplomatic focus and tactical chaos. No wonder his mental patterns seemed so complex. Zara looked around the command center at her assembled officers and advisors. They were all staring at the tactical display where former Korthak ships now drifted in seemingly random patterns, their hive mind broken by exposure to pure human unpredictability. Commander Torres, she said formally, on behalf of the Valdres Empire, I thank you for saving our people and our worlds. Ben bowed in the style of human military protocol. Your Majesty, it was an honor to serve alongside the Valdres fleet. Then Zara smiled and dropped the formality. Ben, husband, thank you for trusting me with the truth, even if it came later than I might have preferred. There is one more thing, Ben said carefully. Task Force Mayhem was just one small unit of Earth's defensive capabilities. We have been preparing for threats like the Korthak for years. This alliance with the Valdres is not just about mutual protection. We want to share what we have learned about fighting hive mind enemies. Share it with the entire galaxy. Every species that values individual freedom and creativity. The Korthak are not the only hive mind threat out there, and conventional military tactics will never be enough to stop them. Zara looked out at the stars visible through the command center's observation windows. Somewhere out there were other threats, other enemies that sought to consume and control. But now there was also hope. Humanity had proven that chaos, creativity, and individual expression could triumph over even the most organized opposition. Then we have much work to do, she said. The galaxy needs to learn about Earth's gift for beautiful madness. Ben smiled and took her hand. Together, we can teach them that sometimes the best answer to perfect order is perfect chaos. Outside, the rescued planets of Nexra began to celebrate their salvation, while in space the confused Korthak ships continued their accidental dance among the stars, each one now experiencing the wonderful, terrifying gift of thinking for itself.